certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
And welcome to another episode of Rankum. This is going to be a fun episode. We're talking about Stanley Tucci. And yeah, we've got a great panel here. We've got Stephen. Stephen, how's it going? You're muted.
Muted. You silly sausage. Yeah. No, we're not even a minute.
I was listening to one of his movies that I was finishing up while I was waiting for everything. Yeah, he's done a lot of movies, but I've seen a lot of his movies, but there's a lot I haven't seen as well. Because he's done at least I think 60 movies at least or something.
It's 100 according to the movies that I put onto my letterboxd list. So,
yeah, wow.
But Richie's also here. Richie, how's it going?
Going good. I don't know if I'm might be on a bit of a delay. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm going all right. And yeah, Stanley Tucci, great actor. I don't feel like I feel like he's still kind of underrated. I feel like he doesn't get his flowers much. But yeah, I'm glad to talk about it.
Yeah, it's all those. He's done a lot of movies, but he hasn't been a big, a starring role in a lot of it. Does that make sense? But so it's going to be interesting to see what we get on this list. But how this works is we each pick a movie that we think belongs on a top 12 list, and then everyone else will say yes or no to it. If it gets majority of yeses, then it will make the list. And yeah, Stephen, we're going to go to you first. What was the first movie you're going to bring up?
Probably my favorite movie that he's been in. It's not a big role, but he's got a couple of good scenes with Paul Newman and Daniel Craig, and that's Road to Perdition. Where he's again not a huge role, but his back and forth with. Also, he's got some back and forth with Jude Law as well, and one good scene with Tom Hanks.
Richie, what do you say about Road to Perdition?
Yeah, I like Road to Perdition really, really well. I know it's a huge it's a huge favorite of Stevens, and yeah, but I probably don't like it as much as him. But yeah, I think it's worthy of this list. I think it's really good. I do forget. Yeah, I mean, like Stephen mentioned, I do forget he's in it. But so it's probably if when we're ranking him, I probably have it low just because of that. Because there's movies that he's good in that he's a more starring role. But I think it's worthy of this list, so I'll say yes.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Road to Perdition. I haven't revisited it to rewatch in a while. But yeah, I don't really remember him in it. But I do like the movie. I'm also going to say yes to it, so it's going to make the list. And going to move on to Richie. Richie, what's the first movie you're going to bring up?
I'm not sure if people have seen this, which is always a good opener for ones you're trying to bring up. But he's really good in it. I'm going to bring up a movie that came out in 2020. Movies did come out in 2020. I know it's hard to believe. But I'm going to go with Supernova. It's him and Colin Firth. It's sort of a gay couple. It's like they're astronomers. It's really good. And Stanley Tucci plays a guy named Tusker who sort of has to deal with he's dealing with the kind of effects of early onset dementia, and yeah, and it's just sort of it's really great story about how this couple of sort of battling through university, and it's really I would recommend watching it. It's really good. So yeah, Supernova, but I don't know anything else.
So you mean this movie?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it's safe to say that I did watch it. Like I went to the library to see what Stanley Tucci movies that weren't on streaming. They were there. This was actually one that was there that I hadn't even heard about until now because like. But yeah, this is a really good movie. It's it's one of those ones that like just this like a road trip movie, so to speak. Um, and it's one of those ones like there's been a lot of movies recently where they tackle dementia and like that kind of stuff. Like Jed also the father come out in 2020 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Supernova is a really good movie and Stanley Tucci is really good at it. It does get really heartbreaking at times as well. So it's an easy yes for me for Supernova. Stephen, have you seen Supernova?
Unfortunately, I have not. I there's two movies I wish I had gotten to. I saw a couple movies for this, and there's a couple more that I would have liked to have gotten to if I had time. Supernova would have been the second one that I probably would have gone to because there's another one that I think is going to end up being brought up that would have been my next one. But yeah, I haven't seen it.
But with this, in this case, we only need 2 yes votes, and it's going to make the list. There we go to me. I don't know how this one's going to go. I'm going to try it anyway, but I'm going to bring up the Studio Ghibli movie, The Wind Rises. Like he is a dub voice in it. So, but and I'll bring it up as I honestly can't remember who voices in it. But the movie itself is just a really good movie. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was nominated for best animated feature that year as well. But yeah, like this is like it's fictionalized biographical film of Jiro Horikoshi. I definitely butchered that name a lot, but Stanley Tucci voices Giovanni Battista Caproni in it, but it's a really good movie. You got voices like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Emily Blunt, John Krasinski pops up in there. Martin Short is in there somewhere as well, but it's a good movie. I don't know how this is going to go because I know Ghibli is one of those ones that like not everyone has seen all the movies. But Stephen, what do you say about The Wind Rises?
Yeah, I'm not really much into anime. So I haven't seen
it. Richie, what do you say about The Wind Rises?
Yeah, this is a weird. I'm in a weird position because I haven't seen the English dub. I've seen it. I've just seen I watched it in its in Japanese and I read the subtitles. So can't really judge his performance, unfortunately. So I guess I'll say no. I have to say no and haven't seen that version.
That's fair. But Stephen, we go back to you for your next nomination.
I'll go with one that I actually just watched today, and he's really fun in it, and that's Easy A. I actually saw this for the first time today, I thought he and Patricia Clarkson as Emma Stone's parents are really fun. It's not like a huge role, but that's going to be true for a lot of his movies. I mean, he does have some big roles. There's one I'll bring up later, I'm sure, where he is actually he is the co-lead. But this is another one of those movies where he's part of an ensemble and he's great in it. And Emma Stone, this was like one of her star-making performances, and she's really great in it too. I was really pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did.
Richie, what do you say about Easy A?
Yeah, I would have brought this up yeah, at some point. Yeah, it's really good, and yeah, like Stanley Tucci plays that sort of the dad. I need to give it a rewatch, but yeah, I thought he's pretty quite funny in this movie. Yeah, so I'll go yes.
Um, yeah, I mean, like Easy A is definitely is a good movie, and I guess you could say it's an easy yes vote for me. Um, because I rewatched it for this, and yeah, it's just so good. So it's going to get on this list. Richie, we go back to you.
Again, I don't know how where this is going to go because I don't look. Look, Netflix tend to bury their quite good movies and promote the movies that aren't great. But I would. I mean, at the end of the day, it'd be good. You know, it'd be good promotion to check this one out if you haven't seen it.
Mhm.
There's this movie called Worth with Michael Keaton, and it's about like he's tasked with like sorting out the 9/11 in emergency funds and getting a bit better deal for all these like victims like all the emergency responders and all the victims to get a fair deal. And one of the biggest detractors, I guess, or one of the biggest oppositions is Stanley Tucci, and he's amazing in this movie. Like the back and forth between him and Michael Keaton is great, and this is just a little gem that I wouldn't, I think more people need to see. I didn't, I yeah, I just randomly came across it one time. Like, why not more people talking about this movie? I think it to be honest, I think it could have been like if it wasn't so stacked. I think it could have got Oscar contention. That's how much I like it. I think it's the performances in this are amazing, and Stanley Tucci stands out. So and when you stand out against Michael Keaton, that's saying something. So I'll see how it goes, but I'll
Yeah,
go with it.
yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't seen this. This it's just one of those movies which didn't come up for me, and I just couldn't find it anywhere to stream because it's not on Netflix now.
Really, I thought it was a
But
Netflix movie.
no, I actually just quickly checked. It's not on Netflix with me.
Okay.
Otherwise, I probably would have. Otherwise, I probably would have seen it. To be fair. So yeah. It sounds interesting. I'm definitely going to check it out if I find it somewhere. But Stephen, what do you say about Rue?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is another one I haven't seen. But I want to because I mean, this stars Michael Keaton, and love him. Always love him.
But if that Roof doesn't make this list, I'm going to bring up a fairly recent one of his, because I do think it's a really good performance. I'm bringing up, now depending on where you live, it's known as two different titles. It's either I Want to Dance with Somebody or it's Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, because studios want people to know it's a Whitney Houston biopic, even though it's not one of his songs. Stanley Tucci plays Whitney's record producer, and I think he does a really good job in this movie. I think the movie itself is really underrated. It doesn't get talked about nearly as much as it should. And yeah, I think Naomi Eki is great as Whitney Houston. And yeah, the movie itself is just one of those ones like. But yeah, I think Stanley Tucci is great in this movie. I think it belongs on the list. Stephen, what do you say about Whitney Houston? I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Honestly, I didn't even know he was in this until I looked up his filmography. And musical biopics are, sometimes they interest me, but most of them don't. So I didn't see it.
Richie, what do you say about I Want to Dance with Somebody?
Yeah, I like how you did that. Like, because you did Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, because that's what it released. It was probably released when in America, but it was released in Australia as I Want to Dance with Somebody. So you flipped it. I liked it, but that being said, as you would say, I haven't got around to this one. So
But Stephen, we go back to you for your next nomination.
I'll go with another movie that he's part of a big ensemble, and probably my second favorite movie that he's in, and that is Spotlight, where he's that's another movie you do with Michael Keaton, and really great ensemble cast with Mark Ruffalo, Rachel McAdams, Liev Schreiber, and it's one of the few times where out of the movies that were nominated for Best Picture, it's the one that I thought should have won, and it's great.
Richie, what do you say about Spotlight?
Oh yeah, Spotlight's amazing. Again, Michael Keaton. It's great. Everybody brings it. I think it definitely could have won Best Picture. I was pulling for it to actually win.
It did win.
I'm not Best Picture, but Anyway, I had it something on mind. I was going to talk and say the other thing came out. I think it should have won more awards. Anyway, that's what I was probably going to say. I think like sometimes in an ensemble you forget people are in it, but like Stanley Tucci stepped out as well. He's really good. So I'll say yes.
Spotlight is great. It's an easy yes for me, just for everything everyone said. Stanley Tucci stands out in this, and but Rishi, we go back to you for your next nomination.
I'm gonna go obvious now. I don't know. It's gonna go obvious. One that's really not really my type of movie, but I really liked it when it came out, and it still holds up. And he's great in it, and he's born to play this role. I'm gonna go Devil Wears Prada. He is great in this movie as the sort of like the fashion snob. He was just born to play this role. He's having a lot of fun. And I think when people think of Stanley Tucci, I think this is one of the roles they think of. Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, Devil Wears Prada is an easy yes for me. Like, just as the fashion designer, I think he's great in the movie. I think, it's definitely one that, honestly, I don't remember if he was nominated, but I think his argument to say he probably should have been nominated for supporting actor for Devil Wears Prada, because I think he was that good in the movie. But yeah, it's still going to be a yes for me. Stephen, what to say about Devil Wears Prada?
I don't. I like the movie a lot. I don't love it quite as much as most people, but it's still definitely good enough to make the list, and hopefully one of two movies that Stanley Tucci has done with Meryl Streep that makes the list.
I know what one you're talking about.
And so do I, but for that reason, it's also going to be the one that I'm not going to bring up. I think we should get at least one of these movies on the list. And I'm going to bring up my personal favorite of the four. I'm going to bring up The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. Because I think in a small role in this as what's his name? Should have looked this up before I started speaking. But yeah, I think he is Caesar Flickerman. That's it. I think he was great in that role, and I think but yeah, I think Danny Schuster is great as Caesar in the movie. I think and it's one of those ones like I don't mind if whichever one of these gets in, but I'll try for my favorite one at the four first, see what happens. But Stephen, what do you say about The Hunger Games: Catching Fire?
I would say yes to 3 out of the 4 movies, and although Catching Fire is not my personal favorite, it is one of the 3 that I would say yes to.
And Richie, what do you say about the Hunger Games Catching Fire?
Well, Hunger Games Catching Fire is my personal favorite as well, so I would say yes, and I think he's really good in this. I think you need at least one Hunger Games movie on this list, so yes, and that's where I was sort of going as well. So yeah.
And with that, we go back to Stephen.
Okay. You guys have mentioned 2 movies that he's done with Michael Keaton. Here's an actor that he's done 2 movies with that and I saw them both for the first time today that I never would have thought that guy he's done more movies with. Okay. And that's Penn what's his name? It starts with a B. Penn Bagley.
Badgley.
Badgley.
Yeah, because I just saw Margin Call. I just finished today, and yeah, Margin Call's a movie that on paper probably should have been boring, but it's not. It's actually really gripping, and everyone in that movie, and especially Tucci, is great in it. And yeah, it was. Even though I mean, I don't always understand that world, but it still was intense and entertaining movie.
Richie, what do you say about Margin Call?
Yeah, I think Steven summed it up pretty well. It's it's a movie that you'd think it's probably not up my alley, or like I don't know, about like maybe like a subject matter that's hard to make entertaining, but I think they do it or make it engaging, make it interesting, and Stanley is really good in it. It's sort of like similar to The Big Short in that regard, that they go in different routes to make it entertaining, but like it's still engaging and it's still really good, and I think it's a really important movie. So yeah, I'd say yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like Margin Call because I watched it for the first time when we did the 2011 Letter series. But yeah, it's like I've kind of said I've said yes to if it's in my personal sort of top 20. It's like outside of that for me, so I'm gonna say no, but it's still gonna make the list, regardless of what I say. So yeah, there we go to Richie.
Yeah, just have a look. Yeah.
We've got 5 slots left.
Yeah, I'm racing through this. It's good. It's good.
It is good because
I got put myself. Maybe because I am, because I am who I am. You can. I like. I think people, neither here nor there in this movie, but I like this movie a lot, and I think it's an underrated Spielberg movie. I think he's really good in The Terminal. And that's Frank Dixon. So yeah, I mean, when you think of Terminal, you think of just Tom Hanks, but he's really good. But yeah, so if you see it, I won't go on about it, but yeah, if you see The Terminal, it's I think it's an underrated gem. So and Stanley's really good in it. So I'll The Terminal.
I think The Terminal is very underrated as well. I think it's a good movie, and just don't confuse it with the movie Terminal with Margot Robbie, because they're 2 different movies. There's one's got the red da in it. But yeah, it's gonna be easy yes for me. Stephen, what do you say about The Terminal?
I do love the movie. It is an easy yes for me. If I had one criticism with it, though, I would say the stuff with Catherine Zeta-Jones doesn't really work for me. But other than that, it is great. So definitely a yes.
Moving on to me. I don't know where this is going to go, but no, I'm going to bring it up because it's a movie that I completely forgot he was in until I looked up his filmography, and it's the 1992 movie Beethoven about the dog. He plays Vernon in the movie. One of the um, Robert guys of Oliver Platt. And yeah, it's just one of those movies that is it's a really good family movie that and as Austin would put it, like it goes really weird very quickly. Just like most family movies of the 90s, but I think the movie itself is really good. Like it's a standard family movie that um I think is just great and rewatchable. But Stephen, what do you say about Beethoven?
I love the movie as a kid, and I still would probably enjoy it. And admittedly, for some reason, it is one of the first movies I think of when I think of Stanley Tucci, surprisingly. Um, but if I think of great Stanley Tucci movies, although I will have my next pick will probably is a guilty pleasure that isn't a great movie, but I still love it. But Beethoven is just I don't see it being one of his best. And there's another movie he did with Oliver Platt that I do love, even though I haven't seen it in years. That I'll probably bring up later if I get to. So it would be
Um,
Reluctant No.
Richie, what do you say about Beethoven?
Yeah, I mean, like you kind of said it in your opening that I forget he's in this. So I mean, if we're gonna go best Stanley Tucci and we forget he's in it, I don't know. On the list, so I'll go. No. I mean, so I think there's better ones still available. So I'll say no. But you know, and big ups for bringing it up. I do like the movie.
Right, but Stephen, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
All right. I think it was dubbed at the time of its release, sort of the indie version of Armageddon, and it's not a
No,
great it's not
no.
a great movie, but it's a guilty pleasure that I enjoy the hell out of, and that's The Core. And especially, I love the back and forth between him and Delroy Lindo. That stuff was so much fun. So uh, I don't know if it'll make it, but I don't care. I'm bringing it up because I enjoy the hell out of it.
What do you say about the core, Richie?
I hate this movie. I'm not gonna lie. I think it throws a lot of like. I mean, Stanley Tucci's trying, I guess, but it throws a lot of like scientific sort of like jargon at you and doesn't even bother trying to explain it. Like whatever. Yeah, just convoluted bullshit. Like none of these. I guess Stanley Tucci's most interesting character. Hilary Swank has a weird career. Like you can tell when she's not like invested. She's terrible in this movie. Like, Aaron Eckhart's pretty good, but like the whole movie is just a slog and boring and just like it just like you don't know what's going on. You're expected to know what everyone's talking about. And it's like the whole premise is fucking stupid. So
I mean, like I said, it's not dissimilar to
uh,
Armageddon.
yeah. So I'm gonna say no, but yeah, I don't know. I'm actually glad you brought it up, so I talking about it.
Yeah, I like I like the Irish band The Cause. I like the WOB stable The Cause. I've not seen this movie at all. So yeah, it's not going to make the list. Richie, what is your next nomination?
All right. I know you kind of said that you were going to veto this, but I'll bring it up because I think he's good in it. Oh, I think the movie as a whole is okay, not as good as maybe an Oscar, as not as Oscar worthy as it really should have. But I'll bring up Julie and Julia. I think Steven's going to bring it up eventually, won't he? Yeah. Um, yeah, I think he's really good in it, and I think it's worth. Yeah, I think it's worth bringing up. Yeah, again, sort of. I feel like he's just one of those actors. Steve Stanton's just one of those actors that is very sort of I feel like his presence is understated in like marketing, and then you go into it like, oh man, he's really good, but they don't like hype him up as much, you know. But like, and this is one of those movies. So, Julia.
Yeah, I like Julie and Julia. I think it's a really good movie. And yeah, I think Stanley Tucci is very good at this. And I think that's the problem with a lot. Like Tucci's one of those people who's like he may not be in the marketing a lot, but like sometimes it's a nice surprise. So he's like, oh yeah, that's Stanley Tucci. It's like, but yeah, it's going to be yes for me. Stephen, what is there to say about Julie and Julia?
Oh yeah, I love this movie, and Meryl Streep is great. Amy Adams is great. Both storylines, I loved both storylines, and also the chemistry between Meryl Streep and Stanley Tucci. I mean, I love those two together, so it's an easy yes.
Um, but um, but yeah, for my next nomination, I'm going to bring up a movie he was actually nominated for, and it's one I think most people expect me to bring up eventually, and it's The Lovely Bones. And it was, yeah, like directed by Peter Jackson and all that. But I think Stanley Tucci's role in the movie is really good. Like, um, he like he plays a really menacing role as the serial killer in this movie, and I think it's just a really interesting role that's different from what he's done in other things. And I think it's one of those movies which I think um is sort of very underrated when it comes to like talking about Stanley Tucci especially. But yeah, I think his role in the Lovely Bones is good, and it's his only like Oscar nominated role as well, which is surprising. But Stephen, what do you say about the Lovely Bones?
Hmm. It's kind of on the cusp between a yes or a no. You know what? Since the core was shut down, and my next one that I'm probably going to bring up is likely not going to make it either. I'll say yes for the Lovely Bones.
Richie, what do you say about the Lovely Bones?
Yeah, like while I'm not a huge fan of the movie really at all, like I acknowledge that he's really good in it and he got no nomination. So I feel like due to the fact that his overall performance was recognized and he's really good, so I'll say yes.
Um, but Stephen, we go back to you. Got two spots left.
Um. All right. Yeah. I don't know if people have even seen this, but it came out. I think it came out in the late '90s with the other movie that I was alluding to with him and Oliver Platt. And it's been a while since I've seen it, but I do remember loving it. And that's the Imposters, where he and Platt play a couple of actors who stow away on a ship, and it's just really funny, a lot of fun. And there's a little improv, facial expression game they do that always always get get a crack out of. It's just a funny movie.
Um, Richie, what do you say about the Imposters?
Stephen, you shouldn't assume people haven't seen movies. Yeah, haven't seen it. So yeah, I can't say.
Um, but yeah, I have seen this is actually on Disney Plus for man, I'm presuming it's on there for Richie as well.
Yeah, probably.
But you're also not going to like what I have to say about this too, because I did not find this movie funny at all. I don't get it. I just thought it was just really boring. Like, I mean, I like some of the acting was good in it, and I think it was well made, with like it being a love letter from like or many different variation genres of movies, and it like starts off as a solid movie and moves from there. But yeah, I just didn't vibe with the movie at all. I thought it was boring, so yeah, it's not going to make the list. Richie, what is your next nomination?
So, um, I'm not a huge fan of like this dude's work because it's just not up my alley. But I gotta admit that he was like a standout in the role. I'm gonna go for A Midsummer Night's Dream, and for his role as Puck. I think he was. I think he was great. One of the standouts in the film. So yeah. So I'll go Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah, this is one that I actually rewatched this earlier in the year. I think it's a really good movie. I love I love Shakespeare adaptations. I think depending on how they do it, I think it can be. It's one of those ones that can either be done right or done really horribly wrong. And this is one that like I think was done right. Like it's so yeah, it's gonna be yes for me. Stephen, what do you say about Midsummer Night's Dream?
Yeah, this is one I haven't seen.
But it doesn't matter. It's going to make the list. And got one spot left. I'm going to try for this. I'm going to go for Captain America: First Avenger. Like he plays Abraham Erskine, like character. I think he's reprised it a few times in the interview. He's definitely in the What If episode anyway. But yeah, I think he was good. Like it's one of those ones that like he's not a major part of the movie, but he doesn't need to be. But I think he was great in the role, and yeah. So yeah, Captain America: The First Avengers on the table. Stephen, what do you say?
Muted.
This is probably the next.
Sorry.
No, I unmuted myself.
You unmuted. Sorry.
This is probably the one I would have brought up next because he is in a lot of ways he's the heart of the movie and he is great in it. So yeah, I'll say yes to Captain America: The First Avenger.
And Richie, what would you have said?
Yeah, there's three. There's three I was thinking about bringing up, and this is one of them. So yeah, I mean, if it was on the list of things to bring up, I would say yes to. And this was it. Yeah, he's really good. But again, it's just sort of he's just one of those actors that pop in, and you're like, oh yeah, he's really good. But yeah, it's like, yeah, you think a lot of filmography is like that. But yeah, he's really good in the role. So.
But that does close out the list. But so making lists, we've got British Magician, Supernova, Easy A, Spotlight, Devil Is Prada, Hunger Games, Captain Fire, Martin Cool, The Terminal, Julie and Julia, The Lovely Bones, Midsummer Night's Dream, First Avenger. Stephen, did you have any honorable mentions?
There is several movies that when I looked in his filmography that I've seen, but I don't remember. like apparently he's in Lucky Number 11, but I honestly don't remember.
I remember. Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I remember him.
I do love that movie. One that I do remember him in a bit was in Swing Out. I thought that's a fun, kind of satirical look at the political campaigns with Kevin Costner and Kelsey Grammer and Dennis Hopper. That's kind of about it. I mean, there like I said, there are other movies that I like, but I just don't necessarily remember him in it. Although he does have a fun role as Catherine Zeta-Jones's. I think he was Catherine Zeta-Jones' assistant in America's Sweethearts.
Yeah.
But Richie, what are some I mentioned that you had?
Yeah, I was going to bring up Lucky Number 11. He's like the detective that's sort of on Josh Hartnett's house all the time. Uh, but yeah, it's a really good movie. The only other one I was going to bring up, just because I wanted to get some animated in there. I'm not a huge fan of robots, but he's in the Tale of Despero, which is which is an underrated movie. So yeah, I probably would have brought that up. But yeah, it's better.
Yeah, I mean, and for me,
Sorry, and the Death of Peter Sellers is a television film where he plays Stanley Kubrick, but I didn't bring that up because it's a television film. I didn't think anyone would see it.
yeah, um, but yeah, and for me, like, depending on how long we would have gone, I probably would have eventually brought up Beauty and the Beast. Like, it's one of the live action remakes that I like, and he's great as Monsieur Cadenza, but also was probably going to bring up. I also watched the movie "It Could Happen to You" for this. I think he's
Oh,
great
that's
in
right. I
that.
do love that movie, actually. Yeah.
And I also watched the movie "What Just Happened," which is Robert De Niro as a movie producer, which came out in 2008. I watched it for two reasons. The other one is going to come up in the later series this week as well. So,
I will
but
say there's one movie that I wanted to see for this that would have been the next movie I would have watched had I had the time, and that's a movie he did from 1996 that was critically acclaimed called Big Night.
Yeah.
yeah,
Just didn't get around to seeing that one, unfortunately.
but some that sort of come up in the chat. We've got the movie Big Trouble, Made in Manhattan. Brian really enjoyed Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Um, Leo mentions Pelican Brief, Burlesque, um, and yeah, I'm not going to go through all of Leo's ones because he's got a lot there. Um, but yeah, now it's time to the fun part to actually rank this list. So, and how we do the ranking is we go right on the whiteboard what we want at 12, and then whichever one has the most votes will be at that spot. But Stephen, what do you have for 12?
Well, since I was on the fence about it, I went with The Lovely Bones.
Richie.
Yeah, I'll go Road to Perdition just because I forget these in.
So off the bat, we're going to have a type because I put Margin Cool. But so chat, Margin Cool, Lovely Bones, or Road Edition. Which one do you want at 12? The first comment I see will be the deciding vote. I will get the wheel set up just in case no one responds in time. And it looks like I don't need to worry about that because Leo was the first one that came in and he put Road of Edition. Sorry, Brian, you're just a little bit too late.
What did Brian say? I missed that.
Oh, Brian would have agreed with Stephen.
Should have been faster.
But Richie, what do you have at 11?
Midsummer Night's Dream.
I'm sticking with Margin Cool. And we're going to have another three-way tie, aren't we, Stephen?
You're muted.
I'll switch to Midsummer Night's Dream. I don't usually like voting for movies I haven't seen, but to save margin call, I'll do that.
But Stephen, what do you have for number 10?
Back to the Lovely Bones.
Richie.
Well, then now you can have Lovely Bones, Stephen. Lovely Bones.
I'm sick with Margin Call.
Alright, what are my options now? Okay.
Richie, what do you have for 9?
I got Captain America: The First Avenger.
I'm sick with Margin Call. Stephen.
You know what? I'll change it to Captain America: The First Avenger.
What did you have in your board?
I was on my board. I had Catching Fire.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I'm surprised Stanley Tucci hasn't popped up in more franchises. But for number 8, I'm sick of Margin Call. Stephen.
Hunger Games.
Richie.
The Terminal.
So we've got the Hunger Games: Catching Fire, Terminal, Margin Call. The first comment I see in the chat will decide what gets at 8.
Yes, I'll let the chat decide because I don't know if I could decide between those two.
And Ryan's on him first. It's going to be Margin Call.
Oh.
Dang.
Stephen, what do you have for 7?
Catching Fire.
Richie.
I stuck with The Terminal.
And I went for The Terminal as well.
Wait, why did I do that?
I don't know. How did you do that?
No, I erased my board. I'm like, wait, why am I doing that?
I do that all the time. Don't worry about it.
I think we all do that. Yeah.
I mean, I really actually wanted to put The Devil Wears Prada, but I know that's a useless cause.
Yeah.
But Richie.
Julie and Julia.
I went Hunger Games: Catching Fire. Stephen.
Okay, good thing I didn't change them. For Catching Fire. Oh, but now I have to. What is left?
We've got Supernova, Easy A, Spotlight, Devil Wears Prada, and Judy and Julia.
Yeah, my number 1 was the first to go.
But
whatever, I'll go with this.
Richie, what do you have for 5?
Get Julie and Julia.
I went Easy A. Stephen.
Oh, you know what? I'll change it to Julie and Julia.
What were you going to go with?
The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that'll probably end up being number 1 too. So.
You know.
Yeah, you never know.
Although I'm hoping Spotlight is number one, but he does have probably the bigger role in Devil Wears Prada.
But Stephen, what do you have for 4?
Four. Wait, so you got Supernova, Easy A, Devil Wears Prada, and Spotlight. So I'll go with. It's a losing battle, I know, but I'll go with Devil Wears Prada.
Richie,
You're right. It is easy.
Easy A.
I was gonna lose no matter what, so whatever.
But Stephen, what do you have for number 3?
Sticking with Devil Wears Prada.
Richie,
Supernova.
I went Spotlight. So chat, we've got Spotlight, Devil Wears Prada, or Supernova. And the first comment I see will decide. We're almost done, Austin. But Leo got in first with Supernova.
Wait, we're doing number 1 now. Okay.
We are doing number 1. And honestly, Supernova is probably what I would have gone for number 1 personally, just because it's the only one out of the 3 he's got a pretty much leading role. Is like his
Leading role, yeah. I just think it's not as yeah. Unfortunately,
yeah. Well, I mean, it came out in the middle of 2020. Like most of those movies, kind of fell into a void.
Yeah.
But Stephen, what do you have for number 1?
Spotlight.
I actually forgot to change my board. Richie.
Devil Wears Prada.
And yeah, Devil Wears Prada is what I've got too. I almost forgot to change my board.
Now, do you guys have it at Devil Wears Prada number 1 because it's the more memorable role for him, or because you really think it's the better movie?
It's more
the way I rank my movies is for how much I like the movie. And actually, it's not my.
I just think it's a more memorable role, and also just like he stands out in Spotlight, but I think there's other performances that are just a bit more media on Spotlight. But yeah, he does stand out on Spotlight. But yeah,
it's one of those ones like
Michael Keaton. If we're doing Michael Keaton movies, Spotlight would be up there.
Yeah, but if they're out the top 12 movies of Stanley Tucci's group, we've got at 12 we've got Road Tradition, at 11 we've got Midsummer Night's Dream, at 10 we've got The Lovely Bones, at 9 we've got Captain America's First Avenger, at 8 we've got Margin Call, at 7 we've got The Terminal, at 6 we've got Hunger Games Catching Fire, at 5 we've got Julie and Julia, at 4 we've got Easy A, at 3 we've got Supernova, at 2 we've got Spotlight, and number 1 is The Devil Wears Prada. Next week on Ranking, we're going to be doing top 12 full Dano movies. It was a really tight poll, but yeah, Richie, we can be find you online apart from Seen and Heard.
Seen and Heard immediately, and other than that, talking about vacuum cleaners, and then like just tournament fights, C rank, all that jazz, and wrestling trivia, PSCO, the PSCO channel, the show about trivia, and catch the YouTube series I'm in, so that's a lot of fun. I'll link you to it. That was a lot of fun to film. Expanded minds only. It's called. So check that out. I mentioned PSCO, but you know what? Go to PSCO if you want. You don't get pressured to go to that if you don't want to. I mean, they have good content, but you know, yeah. But anyway, I'll bounce out. But you have a good day, gentlemen.
But Stephen, we can do for you online.
Sometimes I'm here, sometimes I am on the PSCO network, sometimes I'm on the Movie Hero network, and find me, on all the social media platforms and Letterboxd at SShepherd82.
And yeah, you can find me on Hey Productions hosting Wankum every week. Next week is going to be Top Shelf Paul Dano movies.
Go Girl Next Door.
And you can find me all over the place on PSCO, on Tournament, on Movie Hero Network, on all the lovely places. And with that, we're going to go out. I was going to do this at the start, but forgot, so I'm going to do it here.
Yo, Lil Pump, Sam Rockwell. There's a certain guy. He's a character actor we both love. He's very underappreciated. This is for our boy Stanley. Let's get it! Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang.